Hello, welcome to the Unseen World channel. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all my latest videos. Thank you for watching. In this video, we are going to know about the 10 most brutal rulers in history. Number 1. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan united the steppe tribes of Mongolia and created an unstoppable war machine and the biggest land empire ever. Genghis' military tactics were efficient and brutal. For example, if the besieged city didn't surrender, all the citizens would be slaughtered. Genghis Khan's armies killed 40 million people, which was 11% of the world's population in the 13th century. Number 2. Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler triggered the Second World War. He was responsible for the murder of around 20 million people. His systematic extermination of European Jews is called the Holocaust. Over 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million Jewish children, were killed during his reign. Most of the Jews were killed in the concentration camps. The cruelty of Adolf Hitler is not only the number of people he killed, but in the way how this was done. In an industrialized, organized, and systematic manner, Hitler Nazis actually brainstormed how to increase the murder rate. Number 3. Josef Stalin. Joseph Stalin ruled the enormous Soviet Union. Stalin's totalitarian regime was responsible for ethnic cleansing, wide-scale deportation, mass execution, slave labor in gulags, and famines. The number of Stalin's victims were crazy high. 8.5 million people died from famines in 1932 to 1933 and in 1946 to 1947. 18 million people were imprisoned in gulags. 1.7 million of them died. 1.2 million died during the Great Purge in 1936 to 1938. 3.3 million people were deported to Siberia and Central Asia. Stalin held the entire country in a perpetual state of fear. For example, people were sent to gulags for 10 years if they were caught telling jokes about Stalin. His Red Army often attacked the invading Nazi Wehrmacht, using human waves attacks. Those who turned and ran back to their position were shot by Stalin's secret police. Number 4. Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong took China from a semi-colony to the world's leading power. However, Mao's policies caused an enormous number of deaths through famine, prison labor, and mass executions. In the 1950s, Mao launched the Great Leap Forward, which backfired and resulted in the deadliest famine in history. Over 55 million people died of hunger during 1959 to 1961. Also, his Cultural Revolution resulted in the death of up to 7 million people. Number 5. Pol Pot. Pol Pot organized the Cambodian genocide, which resulted in the death of 2 million people. 1 out of every 4 Cambodians was killed. Pol Pot's regime killed 2 million people in less than 4 years. Cambodia was literally pushed back into the Dark Ages. Pol Pot's aim was to transfer Cambodia into an agrarian society. His forces emptied the entire cities and forcibly relocated people into labor camps in the countryside. Torture, malnutrition, and overwork took a heavy toll. For example, in one prison, 20,000 people were imprisoned and only 7 adults survived. Pol Pot tried to eradicate all educated people. Teachers, lawyers, and monks were murdered. Even people who were wearing glasses were considered educated and were killed. Number 6. Ivan IV. He was known as the Terrible and was the Tsar of Russia, and was known for his outbursts of rage, paranoia, and cruelty. During his reign, he created his personal army called Oprichnina. which had full authority to kill and torture everyone in the Russian kingdom. After beating her daughter-in-law for dressing immodestly and causing her miscarriage, he faced a heated argument with his son Ivan, the heir to the throne and the husband of the poor lady. In a fit of rage, he killed Ivan. On another occasion, he suspected that Novgorod, an important Russian city, will switch sides and open its gate to Lithuania. He ordered his Oprichnina forces to slaughter the entire city. Around 3,000 people were massacred. Number 7. Vlad the Impaler. He had to defend his tiny kingdom of Wallachia against the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, the guy who conquered Constantinople. When the Turks entered the Wallachian capital of Targoviste in 1462, they saw the capital abandoned, except for 20,000 Turkish men, women and children, dying on stakes. The more important was the Turk, the higher stake he was impaled on. Vlad became infamous for his cruelty all over Europe. He inspired Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. Number 8. Tamerlane. Tamerlane was a Turco-Mongol conqueror whose idol was no one else but Genghis Khan himself. Tamerlane's armies swarmed like locusts through Central Asia and destroyed everything in their path. Tamerlane's military campaigns were genocidal and resulted in the death of 17 million people. This was 5% of the world's population in the 14th century. Tamerlane's cruelest trademark was the skull pyramid. For example, in 1401, Tamerlane massacred Baghdad. His soldiers erected 120 skull pyramids made of 90,000 severed heads. Number 9. Leopold II. Belgian King Leopold II tricked imperial powers to grant him Congo as his personal colony. Leopold tried to extract as much money from Congo as possible. His men forced the Congolese people to collect ivory and natural rubber. Their hands would be chopped off if they failed to reach the targets. Also, Leopold's soldiers were torturing, raping, and burning down Congolese villages. During 23 years of Leopold's control over Congo, the brutal treatment of the colony resulted in the death of 13 million Congolese. The population of the Congo before Leopold had been around 20 million. Number 10. Hideki Tojo. Hideki Tojo was a general and the Prime Minister of Japan during the Second World War. Hideki Tojo ordered the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, and it causes the clearing war on the US. Tojo approved the horrific Japanese experiments on Chinese civilians. Unit 731 killed 300,000 people, mostly Chinese and Russian prisoners, including pregnant women and newborn babies. During their biological and chemical warfare research, not a single prisoner of Unit 731 survived. He proved the enslavement of 200,000 Chinese women. They were sex slaves for Japanese soldiers and were referred to as a comfort woman. The Japanese army became known for its brutal treatment of prisoners of war. The death rate of Western prisoners in Japanese POW camps was 27%. In comparison, in the German POW camps, the death rate was 4%. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching.